Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stacey West preview show. As always, I am your host, Jake, as Mark Kennedy prepares to take his Lincoln side down to the Potteries to face Port Vale at Vale Park on Saturday afternoon. Yes, these previews are becoming a little bit relentless at the moment with the fixture schedule. But before we do have a chat with Johnny, our fan from Port Vale, we just have a few things to go over. First and foremost, just a massive thank you to everybody that sticks with the videos. All your support is massively appreciated over the last couple of weeks or so. These videos have been pretty much non-stop, but really enjoying bringing these to you. As I say, please in almost every video, please make sure that you do like, comment, and subscribe to the Stacey West channel. It would mean a lot to me and the rest of the Stacey West team. As I say, in almost every video now, we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can, really, which would be absolutely massive for the team. So thank you for your support, and let's keep going because I know we've got a little bit left in this. So, the Barnsley game, it's still fresh in my mind. I have just sat down to record the West End Imp show with Chris that should have come to you yesterday or on Wednesday as you watch this. Yeah, all my views will be on there, but just to sort of summarise, another really good away performance by Lincoln City, wasn't it? Sat back, let Barnsley have the ball, frustrated Barnsley, and then on the counter-attack we were deadly. I think Jack Diamond probably should score. His chance it hits the post. Obviously, Danny Mandroiu scores a third in three, which is really good for Danny. So composed in front of goal. And then it was, again, not really backs to the wall because I thought we actually created quite a few opportunities throughout the second half. But certainly another really solid defensive display. And to come out with 8 points from Charlton, Ipswich, Barnsley and Sheffield Wednesday is a really impressive return. It sees us move up into the top half, so we are currently sat 11th as I record this on Wednesday evening. Really good start to the season, only 4 points off the playoffs, but let's not get carried away. But yeah, another really good result for the Imps on Tuesday night. Okay, so I'm fully aware you've not clicked on this video just to listen to me talk about the game against Port Vale on Saturday. Just before we do get in the interview, a really tricky game, I think. Obviously, we'll have the memories of the game down at 6-2, I think it was, in our title-winning season. So a lot of happy memories at Vale Park, but they've got their act in gear this time around. So I spoke to Johnny of the Ale and Vale podcast, and here's what he had to say. Then we are joined by Johnny from the Ale and Vale podcast. Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you very much. After our win last night over Barnsley, talk to me about Vale. Then, obviously, you guys got promoted via the playoffs last year. Must have been one hell of a season. I watched the playoff final back against Mansfield, so good on you for beating them. But dominant playoff performance. But how would you assess getting promoted last season?
Oh, it was a whirlwind. It was at the time we were top. Well, we were second and third for some of it, and thinking at one stage automatic was on, and then we didn't win in 5 games, and then we went into the last game needing a win. So that was interesting, and then we had to draw Swindon. That happened. They said a lot of words, shall we say, after the first leg. And then, surprisingly enough, their manager jumped ship, took off the squad with him, and then the little rat went up north because he couldn't cope any longer. So that'll be interesting when we play Charlton. But yeah, then the playoff final happened, and it was surreal. The day was so. I've watched it back about 3 times because every time I watched it, I find something new happened. It was such a blur the whole day was, and then after the game, just seeing the other end empty so quickly and thinking that could have been us was proper moment. And now being in League One, and we've already been Derby, Barnsley, played Ipswich, Portsmouth, Bolton at home. It's like it feels a lot better than playing Stevenage, put it that way.
Mate, yeah, tell me about it. Obviously, then Vale have adapted pretty well to life in League One so far this season, picking up quite a few good results, a couple of good performances as well. How would you assess the first 15 games or so that you've played so far?
It's been a learning curve for us. We took the first 4 or 5 games as kind of an extended pre-season. We had quite a short break in between the end and the start with the season being bumped forward. So we kind of used them first 5 games as a bit of testing the water. Luckily, we got points out of them. It could have been disastrous if not, but we got a few points out of them. And then we've adapted a bit more. We've played some of the bigger sides that you'd think at the start of the season that are going to be in and around there. And we haven't really played a run of established League One teams yet. So like we played Shrewsbury, but then next week we're at Derby, and it's kind of like you want to just play a couple of teams like Cambridge, them sort of teams that are just there, just to settle us down and see where we're actually at now. But it's we had Ipswich Tuesday, then what you guys that are always up and around that end. So
yeah, I think Saturday will be a test for both of us. One player that I'm certainly keeping my eye on from a Vale point of view that you brought in over the summer and has done absolute wonders since arriving at Vale Park. Ellis Harrison scored quite a few goals. I think it's quite interesting with players like Ellis Harrison, obviously deemed not good enough at Portsmouth, but when he goes to a side like Vale, whose task it is to stay in the league, I think you'll find that strikers like that are pretty good, and so far so good for Ellis, right?
yeah, Alice has played with Clark before, and Clark got the best out of him in Bristol Rovers, which got him his move to Ipswich and then Portsmouth and such like. So Clark is taking a lot of credit for that. He likes doing that. He likes saying, I'm getting Alice playing well. But I think the big thing is it a club that values hard work? So we get behind him and stuff like that. Remember, it's probably about 15 years ago, we had 2 strikers up front, Leon Constantine and Akpo Soji. Constantine scored us 33 goals that season, and he was getting booed by fans because he didn't run after a ball into the corner, whereas Soji ran after absolutely everything and was adored. And it kind of epitomises the city. It's a working class area, so if you're going to run your arse off and give everything, the fans will love you. If you're deemed to be lazy in inverted commas, then it's a lot harder even after scoring that. So Harrison's just loved because of his work rate, and he's adding goals to it, so who can complain?
Yeah, absolutely. And one player obviously that is at Vale now that made a name at Lincoln as well, Tommy Pett, was part of our League Two title winning team, part of the team that came to Port Vale and tore you apart, which we'll get onto a little bit later as well. Tom Pett must be loved by all at Vale Park because he certainly is at Lincoln. I assume he'll get a warm reception if he's in and around the squad on Saturday.
Yeah, well, we decided to change him from an attacking midfielder to a holding midfielder as well, because obviously we've looked at his size and thought, yeah, that's perfect for a holding midfielder. 5'10", this is what you want, a big bruiser there. So, but last season he was the 3rd or 4th highest in recovery tackles. So he's very good at winning the ball back. And what he does brilliantly is he'll pick the ball up, he'll put his body in between the ball and the man and just hit the deck and win you a free kick and calm everything down. And the thing that not everything about him is brilliant. He's calm on the ball. He's got 5 yards of pace about him, and he reads the game really well. So we love him.
Absolutely, and so you should as well. A really top player and a top pro as well, top bloke. Talking on Tuesday, then obviously you guys played Ipswich, one of the bigger sides in League One. I mean, obviously we beat him a few weeks ago, not to jaunt it, but you guys, from what I can tell, and I know a lot of Ipswich supporters and content creators, and you guys really tried to play them at football, and you went 2 goals down, but it didn't deter you. You got it back to 2-2, and then ultimately their quality sort of showed. But those sorts of performances against the big boys, so like you went to Derby and won, you played really well against Ipswich. That's got to give you some sort of encouragement, hasn't it?
It has, as long as you're doing it against other teams as well, because there's no point doing it against them if you're going to drop points at home to Forest Green.
Yeah.
So we were 2-0 down against Forest Green, got it back to 2-2, and another 5 minutes we would have won that game. But it's all it's kind of irrespective then. So we've got to make sure that we're backing up these good performances with equally good performances. And obviously don't expect to win every game because we played well against Ipswich. But if we come against you and lose 4-0, it means nothing. That Tuesday was a good performance. So yeah, I think it's encouraging because we didn't know what was going to happen. We signed a couple of players who didn't have any League One experience, for example, and half of the squad haven't. So that's encouraging, but we've got to take the rough with the smooth at the minute and see. This next month and a half until January is going to be quite massive in league terms.
Absolutely, and we like to take a look at the last time that Lincoln travelled to your stadium, which, as I alluded to earlier, was the big 6-2 win for Lincoln over Port Vale in our title-winning season. 4 goals from set pieces. I mean, apart from we were the standout team in League Two that season, I think it would be fair to say. What can you remember from that day? Because all I can remember was jumping up and down, celebrating as the goals sort of flew, and it was a bit of a mental game, wasn't it?
Yeah, was Toffolo there at the time?
Tough was there.
Yeah, that's literally what I remember. I just remember seeing every time the ball went to his left foot, it was inch perfect, and I was just like, just kick him, stop giving him the ball. And you were one of the first teams to play 5 at the back at the time. It wasn't really a sexy formation. It seems like everyone's doing it now, but you just kept seeing him with the ball whipping him in, and then you were just like, if we're not going to stop him, we're going to concede 5 or 6. And then it was like, no, we're not going to stop him, and that's exactly what we did. So
yeah, and we've scored 6 again on the road this season as well at Bristol Rovers. So not a freak occurrence, hopefully. Right then, Johnny, on to Saturday. We're travelling up to Vale Park, I assume in fairly good numbers. Is this a game that Vale should be targeting to pick some sort of result up in, even though, as I say, we are sort of above you in the table and have games in hand as well? Is it a game that you'll be earmarking as a potential result?
I think we've got to look at it, and we've got to build on what we did Tuesday. So we've got 7 from the last 12 in terms of points now. So decent points return when you look at who we've played in them games. So we've got to look to carry on building. And the main thing is at the minute is that, like, if we lose, we've got to lose and make sure we put in a performance still. Because the aim this year is 20th. Do you know what I mean? If we finish 20th, then we're happy. In 12 months' time, when we're having this conversation, might not be the same thing, but this year's aim is 20th, and then we go from there. So as long as we don't get as badly tickled too many times, it's already happened away at Exeter this season, so there's not too many more left. I think we'll be all right, but you've got a good team, so.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you what your thoughts are on Lincoln. Obviously, you might have seen some of the results that we've picked up over the last couple of weeks or so. Obviously, points against Wednesday, beating Ipswich, winning last night again against Barnsley as well. Has that sort of caught the eye from an outsider's point of view?
It has, and a player that you've got that really caught the eye was someone that I was hoping that we'd go in for in the summer, and it's Jack Diamond. Like, he really impressed last season. He was at Harrogate. Yeah, he really impressed last season, and he's the sort of player that I thought that we were missing. Someone that linked up play a lot, and he was quick and direct. So players like him are very impressive. And then you've also got Matty Virtue and Jacob Davenport, who have both played at a higher level. So you can't really argue with that midfield.
And if I have to push you for a score prediction, Johnny, for Saturday afternoon, I fully expect you to go in the way of Vale, but are you? What would you go for?
We're scoring goals at the minute, so I think there's going to be goals. We defensively, we like to give every team a clear-cut chance. If you look back at the goals from Tuesday, the third goal especially, we made it easier to score than miss. So there's definitely going to be goals, but like I say, I can't back against my side. So 2-1 win.
I would be surprised, honestly, Johnny, if we conceded more than one goal based on how we're playing at the moment. But fair enough. Do you want to plug your podcast while we've got you and tell viewers where we can hear you?
Yeah, so we'll be doing our preview of the Ipswich game tomorrow night, and a little bit on yourselves. So you'll find that on Twitter at Ale and Vale, and then it's on Spotify from Friday morning usually.
Yeah, make sure you go over and listen to us. And thank you very much, Johnny, for coming on, mate.
No, that's Sam, mate, anytime.
Thank you to Johnny for coming on the preview show. Please make sure that you do go and check out their podcast. I will post a link in the description for you to go and check that out as well. So that does bring another episode of the Stacey West preview show to a conclusion. Thank you everybody for watching. If you've managed to stick around this far, it's massively appreciated. Like I said at the start of the video, we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as possible, so any support would be massively appreciated. And until we review the game in the West End Imp show on Sunday afternoon, that is everything from me. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, up the Imps.